Started now, and we'll begin the recording. My name's Lisa Chase. I'm with University of Vermont Extension, and we're talking about safely selling local food at farm stands and CSAs during COVID-19. With us here today, we have Sara and James from Trillium Hill Farm. They're going to be talking about the changes that they've made and the decisions that they're making still as things are evolving constantly for their farm stand. And we've also got Ashlyn and Abraham here from Rebop Farm. They're using a different model where their farm stand is actually still open to visitors coming inside. And both of these farms made a point to get some video footage that we'll be able to show. We apologize to those of you who are calling in on the phone that you may not be able to see it real time, but we'll try to describe things as they're happening, and we'll also post the videos on the website afterwards. And we'll make sure you have that link so that you can look at the videos later if you don't get to catch them real time today. And then we'll hear from Kristina from the Vermont Agency of Agriculture, and Bill Cavanaugh from NOFA Vermont is here monitoring chat and chiming in with questions throughout. Before we get started, I just want to find out who's with us today. And so I'm launching a polling. You should see on your screen now a question that says, describe yourself. Check all that apply. And the choices are farmer, extension service provider, nonprofit, government agency, educator, or other. We'll give people a moment to finish filling this out, and then I'll share the results. It's always, we know we've asked you to register in advance, and so it's interesting to see then who's able to make it and come to this in person. I'm ending the polling and sharing the results. And it looks like about 2/3, 65% are farmers with us today. We've got 21% extension or service providers, 38% nonprofits, no government agency, 15% educators, and then we've got a couple of others. If you don't mind for the others, since we're trying to figure out who's with us, if you wouldn't mind typing into the chat, we would appreciate that. And that's about it for my introduction. So unless, Bill, did you want to chime in and quickly introduce yourself before we move on to Sara and James?
Yeah, happy to. Thanks, Lisa. I'm Bill Cavanaugh. I'm a farm business advisor at NOFA Vermont. Really just here to kind of help answer some questions and facilitate any, resources or anything I can help with. So if you have any thoughts, type them in the chat box, and I'm here keeping an eye on it.
And everybody else is welcome to share, not only questions, but answers as well in the chat box. And now I'm going to hand it over to Sara and James to tell us a little bit about how they're doing things on Trillium Hill Farm.
Great, thanks, Lisa. Hi, I'm Sara, and this is my husband, James. We have Trillium Hill Farm in Hinesburg, which is about a half an hour, 20 minutes, half an hour south of Burlington. Across the fence actually came to our last virtual farm stand pickup. And so we thought we'd share that video. It's about 4 minutes long, and that will give you kind of a good sense of what we're up to and a little bit more about our farm. So I'm going to share our screen here.
Welcome to the new normal for many Vermont farmers.
It does feel bizarre.
Sara and James Donegan own and operate Trillium Hill Farm in Hinesburg. The land has been in James's family since 1801. It's safe to say, in all that time, there's never been anything like this.
Okay, great. I'll go grab it. Today is the 5th pickup of our virtual farm stand, is what we're calling it. We have a CSA, we sell our veggies to restaurants, and then we also have a farm stand that's open most of the year. because of COVID, restaurants are not open. So that was a very significant portion of our income for our vegetables. So we kind of had to pivot quickly and figure out, what are we going to do with all these greens?
With a couple of clicks, the Donegans added a virtual farm stand button to the farm's website, and the rest is history.
The response has been incredible. Our community has really rallied around us, and it's been at times even an overwhelming response. We're super grateful for it. Enjoy the sunshine. Yeah. It's so nice. It's been outstanding. Just the demand for local food right now is wild, and that's a great problem to have. Our first week was 40 orders. The second week was 70 something. The third week we hit just about 100 orders. That felt way crazy to us. The last 2 weeks have been around 70, 80 orders, and that's felt really good.
Orders have to be placed online by Wednesday. Sara, James, and daughter Ruby fill orders on Saturday morning with freshly harvested greens and other products from local farms and bakeries. From 9 to noon, customers drive up, open a door or a trunk, and a member of the family puts a box inside the car. It's quick, efficient, and safe. Tara Grablin heard about what was going on at Trillium Hill Farm and quickly signed up.
I'm picking up some fresh veggies from the farm, some goodies, rather than going to the grocery store. I thought I would support their farm and get the local good food. I've done CSAs before, and rather than going to the grocery store and buying packaged stuff, this is fresh and I know exactly where it's coming from. Getting the food right from the source is great.
An established web presence and online store gave the Donegans a head start. But the key to this transition is the relationship between the farmers and their customers.
Of course, thank you. I don't think people realize that it's those one-on-one relationships with consumer and producer that really sustain small farms in Vermont. And this is a real opportunity to create new relationships with customers and for customers to understand the quality and connection that they're getting with their food. Thank you, Cindy. Take care. The one thing that I have just been so amazed and impressed with, all the farmers and food producers out here who are adjusting so quickly, and I hope that it becomes something that is normal. I hope that this wild influx in local food interest becomes the standard. Yeah, that is my big hope for a silver lining in all of this. Hi, Joanne.
Online orders and a drive-through farm stand. Leave it to Vermont farmers to become productive in a pandemic.
Yeah.
It's one normal that's nothing new. In Hinesburg, I'm Keith Silva with Across the Fence.
All right, so hopefully everybody could see and hear that pretty well. But yeah, then we thought we'd just talk quickly about why we started this, our process behind it, the response and outcome and issues we've had, and then kind of going forward what we're thinking.
So about 25% of our sales, gross sales, have been to restaurants in the recent years, particularly in the spring. We do have farm stand CSA, but those don't start till later. So once the restaurants closed, we really needed to act quickly if we were going to take advantage of the work we'd already done growing crops. We did do a early survey, like just when COVID was starting to show up in the United States, and we got a lukewarm response about a pickup or a delivery. Most people were still saying they wanted to come to the farm stand, but a week later, we decided to go ahead with it, and nobody's complained that the farm stand has not been open.
So our process, I'll just do another quick screen share here to show you our website. I'll just we can get out of this.
While you're setting up the screen share, I'll mention that we did get a question in the group chat. Somebody asked, are you using CSA software like Farmigo? So
Yes,
I'm
well,
guessing you're
I'll
about
show
to
you.
talk about that.
Yeah, we, previous to COVID, had a Weebly website. That's still what we're using. We had used it beforehand to sell CSA and farm stand shares. And just what we call those things is our CSA is a traditional veggie. There is some option within it, but it's a pay ahead veggie share. Our farm stand share is a pay ahead, and you get a little extra credit, and it's all spent in our farm stand. So it can be spent on our products or the products that we purchase in. So this is what well, I'll show you the front end first. This is what the front end of our website looks like. Here's our virtual farm stand, and it brings you here. We put just kind of the instructions up at top. They have to place their orders before midnight on Wednesday, and it explains the process of pickup on Saturday. Then we have our categories. So this is where we've always had these two categories here, where folks can buy a CSA or farm stand share, and they can also buy our grass-fed beef bundles. And then we added these other things to it for this specific pickup. So folks can click on an item and go through and just like you would shopping for anything online. And then the back end, what our end looks like, we have capacity to list products and list inventory and prices, and we can go in here whenever we want and update and change the inventory, make it visible, make it invisible, unavailable. So yeah, that's just the quick and dirty of what it looks like on our end. So our process is we update our website with inventory every Sunday night, and then right away we send an email to our farm stand share members. Because we've had so much demand and certain products were selling out really quickly, we wanted to honor those folks who had paid ahead. So we are giving them one extra day before we let the rest of our customers know that stuff is available. So we update, we email them. Then a day later, we email just our general newsletter that what we kind of have that might be new and exciting, what we might have a lot of and we want to feature. And so then they can order. Our farm stand share members, in order to avoid entering their credit card numbers, they have a 100% off coupon code that they can use. So this is something we didn't figure out until about week 5 or 6, but we were having farm stand share members email us, and then everybody else was ordering through the website, and then it was taking a lot of logistical work to merge those into the same Excel document so that we could then sort them together. So now it's more streamlined now that we figured out that very simple coupon code thing. I wish I had known that from the beginning, but I give all credit to Zach Smith for that. So then, all right, so on Monday night, we send out that email to our general newsletter. Orders close Wednesday at midnight. And then we create our harvest list and our inventory for folks that we're buying stuff in from, so we can place orders from them if we haven't already. Friday night, we print our pack lists in alphabetical order, and we highlight the meat items that we'll have to grab last minute at the pickup out of the freezer. And then Saturday morning, we start packing at 6 a.m.
So I think, like was mentioned in the video, the first week we had 40 orders, and then 70, and then 95, and we had 105 last week. We haven't caught up on our record keeping to know how the total sales compares to last year or previous years, but it feels like it's equally as good. You know, even though we've lost all our restaurant sales, it feels like this has taken the place of it significant, adequately, if not an improvement. Not quite sure. The community response, you know, just over and over again, people are saying how much they appreciate it and how safe it feels. I guess it seems like, as far as every time we do a social media post that we have an order available, we get more CSA signups and more farm stand share signups.
Yeah, so our CSA, we've also seen a pretty significant increase in our CSA and farm stand shares, in addition to this pickup kind of replacing those restaurant sales. So some of the issues that we've had, like I was mentioning before, just logistically, it was taking a lot of time to sort and organize orders and figure out pack lists and harvest lists. That has hopefully being avoided with this coupon code. The packing at first took longer than we thought it would. So when we were starting the official hours, we have folks come at 9 a.m. We were still packing orders and it got really chaotic. So we've started packing a little bit earlier. Human errors are the biggest thing. You know, we might miss that somebody ordered 2 bunches of radishes instead of 1. So far, people have been super understanding and just send us an email and we make it right next week, or we credit them or reimburse them. We've discovered that the more humans involved, the more room for human error there is. So last week, for example, one of our vendors was late for the pickup and we were scrambling to get some stuff into boxes before 9 a.m. And another business's delivery person forgot about us the night before, so we didn't have enough of something. So thinking about how much you want to be adding to these types of ordering systems is important, because it's not always you in control of everything, as I'm sure a lot of you already know. So then another bottleneck we found is finding the correct order when a customer comes to pick up. Not everybody knows who placed the order in their family, so some families have different last names, and we are trying to be really adamant about being alphabetically ordered. Luckily, I have a history of working in libraries, so I'm pretty good at that. But finding orders can be a big deal, so we're wondering about somehow making names bigger on the boxes. Right now, everything's like in 12 font on printout slips. So, and then one thing we're kind of thinking about for the future is, like, once it gets hot, is this going to be able to be a working system? Because we don't have we have a good walk-in cooler, but we don't have enough space for all these orders and to be able to find them and organize them in a cold place. So do you want to talk a little more about, like, the future?
So for the near term, we're planning to continue with the curbside pickup on Saturdays. But our CSA is scheduled to start the end of May on Mondays, and depending on, things are looking like they're improving, so we'd really like to do our CSA kind of like we used to, but we're considering that we may have to do a CSA pickup in a similar fashion. We're thinking we will open our farm stand, but it probably wouldn't be able to be on the day that our CSA picks up or the curbside pickup happens. So maybe we'll narrow down the farm stand opening, the days that the farm stand are open, to midweek. But I'm feeling like this will be a great avenue to sell things. Just something that we could always just pull out. If our farm stand is closed for the season in November, but we have a lot of products, we could always just pull this out and do a weekend pickup. we could pull it out next spring, and when it's too cold to open the farm stand on a regular basis, and do a regular pickup in next spring. So it feels like a great tool that we'll be able to use.
Yeah, so that's kind of the run through of us. I'm really looking forward to hearing from other folks. And just so you all know, I also work at the Intervale Center as a farm business specialist, and I've been working on a document on a lot of this stuff. And so I'm always happy to chat with folks. Lisa will share the link to my document and then also my email address. So feel free to reach out directly.
Yeah, I'll send out, after we're done today, a little bit afterwards, I'll send out an email to everyone who registered that will have a link to the document that Sara mentioned, as well as her contact info, Bill's contact info, Kristina's contact info, and other links that have come, other links that are coming up in the chat. There's a bunch of questions in the chat for you, Sara and James, but in the interest in time, what I'm going to do is turn it over to Ashlyn and Abraham so they can talk a little bit about what they're doing. And then if we have time at the end, we'll circle back to some of these questions. But in the meantime, you know, you don't need to deal with them in chat right now, but you or anybody else is welcome to keep the chat active. Ashlyn and Abraham, mind if I turn it over to you now about what's going on at Brattleboro with Rebop Farm?
Indeed, thank you. I'm Abraham.
And I'm Ashlyn.
Let's see, where to start. We do raw milk dairy and diversified meat, all pastured, with 8 different animal groups on 32 acres in Brattleboro, with an additional 20 acres leased from neighbors. Yeah. We do CSA for our meat and for our milk, and we do have a retail store. Our retail store was quite small, and last year we built a new building that included a retail store and community space, and it was completed in the beginning of November, just in time for all of this to happen. And it increased the space that we have for retail in terms of product, but also it's separate from our house, very distinctly separate from our house, which is a godsend right now. And there's more parking and traffic flow, and customer flow is much increased.
Do you want me to hop in? Sure. And talk about it a little more? Yeah. So historically, we've really focused on sort of staple foods, on making sure that we're accessing as many individual customers as possible, and that we're providing food that they might eat at every meal, which has really been to our benefit in this moment because we didn't have a lot of restaurant accounts to fall through. So the arc of our business sort of stayed the same. Like, we didn't have a big drop off. We were a little concerned that we had just put a lot of money into a big capital investment, building this big thing, and then that no one was going to be coming to our store. But what happened instead was that our sales increased, our retail sales increased about 7-fold, which was a huge increase for us. We were working with about 10 or 11 other producers to offer other food in our store, and that number increased to 40 at last count. It's been this big mushroom that we had to figure out how to deal with in a safe way that protected our community and protected our family. So we've come up with sort of a range of protocols to deal with that. We knew there's some funny legalities around selling raw milk online that we weren't totally clear about, and so we were concerned about wading into that at all. Most of our product is refrigerated or frozen, and we were concerned about the duration of this and setting up a system now that wouldn't work later in the middle of July. We can't be setting raw milk out for anyone, which means it would take a lot of labor for us to set up a curbside. It's taking a lot of labor for everyone, but we thought our products weren't well suited to that. So we decided that we would implement social distancing practices in our store. Neither of us are down there. It's self-serve. None of our employees are down there. We are there stocking occasionally, but no one's checking anyone out. And so we kind of had to put a lot of trust in our community to follow through with those protocols that we were asking them to use when they were in our space. So maybe you could talk through the protocols, and then we could watch the video of the store and kind of how we have things set up.
Or we could watch the video that explains
Oh, that's
some
true.
of the
That's a good
protocols,
idea.
and then we'll follow up after that.
Yeah, so maybe Bill, would you start that?
Roll that tape.
Yeah, I'll cue it up. Give me 1 second here.
We can talk through it while Bill cues up. It's because this has been a developing situation. These have had to change over time as we've gotten better information. So go ahead, Bill.
All right, let me know if there's no sound.
This is Ashlyn Bristle at Rebop Farm, and I'm going to show you our farm store and some of the steps that we're taking to keep our farm store safer for us and our employees and for the people that are buying food from us. So we have a self-service farm store. None of us are down here checking people out. So we are depending on our community to sort of self-regulate well. We have some signage when you first walk up to the door that asks that people only enter the space in one at a time or in groups that we assume are self-isolating together. And we also ask that people wash their hands as soon as they enter the space before they touch anything else. We have all of the interior doors open and lights on so that they don't have to touch anything before they go ahead and wash their hands. We've also asked our community to wear masks whenever possible inside to reduce just sort of the droplet load that's inside of the store. And so in addition to that, we also have a little sign that we made at the beginning of this that tells people what we're doing to help keep them safe in the space and keep the space as clean as possible. So we'll walk in and sort of check out the path to the bathroom. So we have we're really glad that we made the choice to have a public restroom in our farm store. So we have a sink and soap and paper towels available and hot water. In addition to that, we have signage about how to wash your hands, which is a good thing to have anyway. We figure that people are probably getting this message from a variety of sources right now, but we figured one more place wouldn't hurt, and the reminder to do it well. If we're asking them to do it as a safety precaution to keep our farm store safer, was that it's a good idea. So after they wash their hands, our farm store is fairly small, which does mean that it's been helpful that it feels like you're in close contact with other people when you're in here, and so we really haven't seen anybody breaking the rules around just having one person or one group in at a time, which has really helped us feel safer in keeping the store open. So our checkout space is probably our highest touch area, so we have an iPad for self-check, and we are sanitizing it multiple times a day. We're having to restock maybe in excess of 5 times a day, and it's getting wiped down every single time with a disinfectant every time we're in the store, as well as every counter that's getting any potential touching, door handles, the freezer, anything that anyone could be touching on a regular basis, we're wiping down. And then we're at the end of the day right now, so I'm gonna be sanitizing down here before I restock, just before I touch any
packages or bags, the protocol is that we wipe it down. We try to have everything sanitary. I wash my hands really well, and then I'll go get back stock to fill out all of the fridge and freezers. Other than that, we do have some hand sanitizer here. I think that, you know, people still have to get out the front door. We can't leave the door propped right now because it's still too cold, and we don't want a bug issue in the farm store. But I think that the hand sanitizer has just helped people feel safer, which is important at a time like this. Our business is increasing because people want to be in a less traversed space, and everything that we can do to help them feel like we're aware of that, I think, builds customer confidence. So beyond that, we don't have much else that we're doing. We know that there's a potential risk to us in having the public continue to come to our property, come into a building of ours that we're sharing with them. But we feel like those steps help mitigate the risk enough for us that it feels worth it. So I hope that was helpful. And I would sort of expand on that last thing I said, which is that we kind of had to adopt a philosophy about how we were going to make decisions around this moment. And for us, it's about harm reduction. So there's no perfect system. Like we're people that could get sick interacting with other people that could get sick in a public space. And so we sort of went through like a logical decision-making process of like, well, from a public health standpoint, what would be the safest thing? It would be that we all have like food at home that we could eat for 2 months or something and not interact with each other, but that's unreasonable, and that's not how food works, and that's not how our food system is. So what's the next safest thing that we could do? And then what's the next safest thing? So we sort of went through some layers of like, well, we can't ask our community to do that, but how can we serve them at the least level of risk? And it's why we set, without overextending ourselves so much that we wouldn't be able to farm effectively this season. So that's why we settled on leaving the farm stand open, leaving it still being a space that people could go into, but with some extra layers. So in addition to the things that we put into that video, which I think I took maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, we're now just sort of always wearing masks, always, whenever we're in the parking lot around our customers. We are asking people for the same. There's a little bit of an access issue, like if you can't sew and you don't know people that sew, if you're tight on cash right now, can you access masks? So we've been sort of sensitive about making it a total requirement, but we're getting close to that's going to be required. We're figuring out ways to make it accessible for people. And then we also, one of the small things that we've run into has been the issue of helping people understand protecting their own health versus protecting everyone's health when they go into a shared space. So sometimes Abraham tends to be in the store more than I do. Sometimes people will come in with gloves already on and say, well, I'm wearing gloves, so I'm protected. Is it good if I don't? I just don't want to wash my hands. And the point is that we're protecting everyone that goes in. And so making that a part of our customer education has been really key in a lot of the conversations that we're having. I'm writing something to go out in our farm newsletter about that and about sort of the way that we are interconnected and taking care of one another. So I think everyone's primed for that in this moment, to be receptive to that idea. And they just need a little help imagining it in our specific space. And then we have CSA pickups. Do you want to talk about what you're doing?
Sure.
There.
So our CSA pickups, we have 2 locations. So we do one pickup on farm and we do one pickup in town in Brattleboro. And both of them are once a month. Our membership has grown, but it's still, I guess, quite manageable from a social distancing standpoint and a traffic management standpoint. They're on different days, they're only an hour apiece, and they're during lower traffic times at the store and at our pickup location in town. We were doing it in a business in town that had space for us, but we've switched to a municipal parking lot. So it's essentially a drive-through CSA pickup. And some people just pull up and I put it in the back of their car, or they have a box or a cooler set up for me to put items into. And some folks will get out of their car and bring their cooler over, and basically we'll do like a prisoner exchange with a box of meat, where like I will take it and set it on, you know, like the tailgate of the truck, and then I'll back away and they'll come over and pack their cooler, and then they'll walk away, and then I'll move on to the next person. We're doing a similar arrangement at the store on the farm, except that there's a lot more chatting that happens there because everybody is looking at this as a opportunity to actually engage with their community and other people that they don't see very often. So there's a lot of people standing at their respective cars 20 feet away from each other, catching up, which is really pretty sweet.
Yeah. But they have been really good at maintaining social distancing guidelines in that. And I think if we were noticing that that wasn't happening, we would need to step in. So far, it hasn't been an issue.
Yeah. The other option that we've had is for people that don't want to come to one of those pickups for whatever reasons they have, we can make alternate arrangements so they can come to the farm at a arranged date and time, and we'll have their stuff in a cooler on the porch of the store, and basically we'll put it out, you know, a half hour before they come or something, so they can come be by themselves, pack their own box, and leave without really interacting with anybody.
And then of course, like we have, if they're touching boxes or the coolers, we have that issue of it's going to come back up into our space, into our house. Same with milk jars that get returned. And so we have some like protocols around washing and sanitizing and putting sanitizer on things that have been touched by the public. And then most of them don't get used again for a while. Like our milk jars anyway are going through a whole sanitizing process that happened long before this. But for coolers and things, you kind of have to think about everything that everyone's touching. I'm sure you're all aware of that. Other than like the hand sanitizer in the store, mostly we use alcohol that we get in gallon jugs from our farm supply. So that's the easiest, most cost-effective way to have a lot of alcohol available that we can use for sanitizing everything. We're also, anytime we're going to the store, our store, or touching anything, we're washing our hands before we come back into our house or back into our home space. The two questions that came up when we were showing the video is, the hand washing poster is awesome. Lisa Chase got it for us last year when we were talking about having people on our farm in general and protocols to set in place before COVID ever existed. And the second one was what software programs we were using. Our iPad checkout is using Square. It's worked really well for us in a retail sense. It also has the option to do an online store really easily, but that's not something that we've been using. And I would say my final comment about what we're doing, there is a marketing piece that I feel is pretty important in this moment, and was a really great way of both serving our community and expanding our customer base. We reached out to our neighborhood and anyone, not our full email list because it didn't seem appropriate for that, but people in our direct community about what they wanted to see in our store, what products they needed that they weren't able to find in a low volume space. And then we immediately reached out to producers that were making those things and started carrying them. And it was a really excellent way of reaching a lot of customers that we hadn't quite been able to pull in yet, that weren't coming to our store, that for whatever reason were resistant. It's why we expanded so quickly in our product offerings, because every time someone said, I would come in and I would buy it if you had it here, we put it in, which I think is good advice anyway. But in this moment, people were looking for an alternative when they might not have been otherwise. So it was really helpful to sort of have our fingers on the pulse of exactly what people wanted and what they were looking for. So some reaching out and responding to community need is an excellent and pretty, I don't know, it's just a good marketing opportunity for you. I think that's all we have.
And so, one more question just came up. For the bookkeeping portion, for all the vendors that we buy product wholesale and then we mark it up and sell it retail. And our markups are probably not enough. Like, we want it to be affordable, and there's an opportunity for us to sell things for less than a grocery store or food co-op probably would, because our overhead is less. And we're able to offer a lot of things that simply couldn't make it in a larger setting like a food co-op. So that's just like anything else that we would purchase and resell. And we don't have any items that we need sales tax for except for some cookbooks. I think that's, cookbooks. So, or not cookbooks, cheese making books. So those are the only things that we actually need to collect sales tax on.
Thanks, Ashlyn and Abraham. That was great to hear what you're doing and see what you're doing in the video. And it's such a nice contrast to see how Sara and James are handling their pieces and how you're handling your pieces and the variety of different options out there. I'm now going to turn it over to Kristina from the Vermont Agency of Ag, who will tell us a little bit about the resources, guidelines, and support that's out there to help farms with these transitions.
Great, almost forgot to unmute myself. Everybody can hear me? Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you both, or all three or four of you, for those presentations. It was really great to see the changes that you're making and how you are pivoting to be able to support your businesses and provide Vermonters with healthy food during this time. So I'm going to give a quick introduction and then really just share a few resources that we want to make sure that everybody has access to, and then take your questions. You may already be aware that the governor's Stay Home, Stay Safe executive order specifies that agriculture and farms, including CSAs, are critical sectors in activity. So that does mean that farm stands and CSAs have been able to continue operations under the executive order. However, the governor does strongly encourage businesses to evaluate their in-person operations and make decisions in the best interest of protecting themselves and all Vermonters. And I think we've really seen some great examples of that in the prior two presentations. So I really applaud both Trillium Hill and Rebop Farm for making those decisions and finding ways to make the safe delivery of food available to Vermonters. So when it comes to mitigating the risks related to COVID-19, the requirements and guidance that apply to farm stands and CSAs is not, for the most part, sector specific. So we do have guidance available on our website and the Agency of Agriculture website that is specific to farmers markets at this time. There will be soon sector-specific guidance for pick your own operations and the reopening of pick your own farms this season. And all of that guidance will always be shared both on our website and on the Agency of Commerce and Community Development website. So I'm just going to get started and share my screen so everybody knows where to access those resources. Where there might be a small delay. So let me know if you can see my screen. Thank you, Lisa. Great. So I really recommend that folks get started at the Agency of Commerce and Community Development website, accd.vermont.gov. And right at the top of their website, you'll see a link to all of their COVID-19 specific information. This is a new resource, the Work Safe Training resources, which were just rolled out last week, and it specifies general training requirements for all businesses in the state. So this is something that I definitely recommend checking out. In addition, you can find any sector-specific guidance under resources for businesses here, and that's where any any subsequent guidance that is specific to agriculture will be posted in addition to the Agency of Agriculture website. The Agency of Agriculture website you can access at vermontagriculture.com or agriculture.vermont.gov, and you'll also see right up top we have a direct link to all of the COVID-19 information related to agriculture in Vermont. You can email us at agr.covidresponse@vermont.gov, and Lisa will share that email address with everyone in the follow-up message. You can also sign up for our weekly newsletter that we're sending out once a week that compiles any new updates on resources available to agricultural businesses, as well as any updated guidance or sector-specific requirements. And we also encourage you to fill out this form to record any impacts to your business. So we're actually sharing impacts to the governor's office every week specific to agricultural businesses. You may have seen that the Agency of Commerce and Community Development also has a similar form. You could definitely fill out both forms. The more information that we can get to the governor and to the state of Vermont in general about how COVID-19 is affecting their business, the better. If you scroll down a little bit from our website, you can find some messages from our Secretary of Agriculture, Anson Tebbetts. And then we also have a few sector-specific frequently asked questions, including a fact sheet that we just published last week related to licensing, registration, and labeling requirements for those folks that might be aggregating product or moving to retail sales for the first time. So in general, there aren't a lot of licensing, registration, and labeling requirements. And I know that Sara Donegan is working on a fact sheet related to this as well. But if you are selling meat or dairy products for the first time, there may be some licensing required, so we do encourage you to contact our meat and dairy section. We also have just published a fact sheet for updates to federal resources for small businesses. And so we encourage folks to learn more about those resources, including the fact that the grants under the EIDL program are now going to be available to agricultural businesses, whereas just a few weeks ago when that program was first rolled out, the grants were not available to farms. So that is kind of a quick rundown of where to go to get resources from the ACCD website, accd.vermont.gov, the Agency of Agriculture website, agriculture.vermont.gov, or vermontagriculture.com. Obviously, the Vermont Department of Health also has a lot of great resources, both for businesses, consumers, and for folks that might want to download and post some hand washing signs in their bathrooms that are available to their employees or the public. I think that's really what I wanted to share. So I'm going to stop sharing now, but if any questions come up that are relevant, I can go ahead and share my screen again.
Thanks, Kristina. And for everyone who didn't quickly jot all those resources and links and email addresses down, don't worry, we'll include that information in the email that we're going to send out. We have a few minutes for Q&A, so, and we've got a few things in the chat, but I'm just going to start off one kind of big picture one and give it both to Rebop Farm and Trillium Hill Farm, which is, you've seen a bump in demand right now. What are your thoughts and ideas for retaining customers in the future? We have no idea, you know, when we'll be back to whatever different scenarios, but what are your thoughts moving forward through this and evolving pandemic and then further on into the future?
I have an answer. Well, for us, our retail sales have exploded, which is really cool and exciting. And our more conservative-minded farmer here is a very strong advocate for CSA model, whereby we already sold our CSA out early and then expanded it and then sold it out. And then we are selling our winter CSA now, which starts in December and goes through next June.
and it's already almost sold out. And so my thought was, we have no idea what's coming. We may be in a huge expansion, and I hope there's not a bust, but there could be. And if there is, my CSA has me covered on income until next May. And so we really pivoted our resources from the retail is fine. It doesn't need a lot of pushing right now. People want what we have, and that's wonderful, but I can't depend on it day to day. I can't depend on it in 6 months. And so I'm going to fall back into my sales channel that is the most conservative and is my core group of customers. And we've captured lots and lots of new CSA customers, which is wonderful. Those people, I have like a great opportunity to market to them directly, to have lots and lots of positive experiences with us and our farm and our foods, so that they continue to be our customers. So that was where we decided to put a lot of our effort into cultivating and making sure that we were stable and steady through the next year, and then we can shift our growing. Like, we're growing that food right now. So we needed to be sure that we had a market for it. So that was our approach.
Yeah, I mean, I think similar response, like just giving those new customers and existing customers a good experience. And I think there's so many folks out there that are going to realize, like, these fresh, we all know this, like, these fresh veggies are so much better than what you've been eating from Shaw's, you know? And I think that just giving those customers good experiences, like Ashlyn was saying, over and over, and it's a real opportunity right now. And hopefully we can deliver a good customer experience and continue with our great product in this time and retain those customers, because the future is unknown. And why would you go from having a CSA or a farm stand share and quit that experience now to go back to, you know, the big box store situation, which is so unknown for the next however long.
Thanks. I have to say, this is for the most part, a really difficult, dark time, and so many farms and other businesses are struggling. And this is definitely the most fun part of my job. It really is great to talk to some farms that, you know, have done these amazing pivots and have been able to really be bright spots, you know, not only for their own businesses, but for the entire communities that they're feeding. And, you know, thanks to you and to the rest of the farms that are really making the shifts. And also, I know you're taking into account all income levels. And we weren't able to, we're almost out of time. So I'm going to move into the closing here. And, you know, people are still welcome to continue to ask questions in chat. Even if we don't get to them today, we'll take a look at them. And between Kristina, Bill, and myself, and Sara, and Ashlyn and Abraham, if you choose to, you know, we'll circle back and get to your questions, whether you ask them through registration or through the chat. But I have to say, it is really wonderful what you've been doing. And just one of the questions we had in registration was about the different income levels and access available. And a couple of weeks ago, we did a session on EBT and so getting your direct market farm set up for EBT. So we've got resources on that, as well as online farm sales, meat and dairy direct sales, and some of the other topics that have come up today. As we close out, I just want to share my screen one more time to let you know what's coming up. So we started this series back in early April, when we, you know, heard a lot of farms with questions about how to set up safe sales and what this would mean for agritourism and e-commerce. And this is now our 5th one of these weekly online conversations. We have one more planned for next week, and that's on same time, May 13th, about keeping a focus on equity and access in local food systems. Cheryl, do you want to say a couple words about what's coming up next week?
I am trying, I think I'm unmuted now, and
Yes, I hear you.
Thank you. We are still working on some possible additional people, but Alissa, who runs Harmonized Cookery and is the chair of the Food Justice Task Force with the Farm to Plate Network, is going to speak, as is Matt Maxwell, who I think many folks will know his name because they hosted a huge breakfast on the farm event, and they're a participant in the Milk with Dignity program. And so they're going to talk about their particular inroads on working on access and equity. And I'm going to stop there, but there may be some more people coming in, and we hope you'll come back for that next week.
And that's the, right now, that's all we have planned. And honestly, when we started these back in April, we really weren't sure. I mean, it's the middle of the day on a Wednesday, it's the growing season. It was the start of the growing season in April. Now we're further along, the weather's getting nicer. And, you know, we're only going to continue these as long as people have questions, have topics they want to deal with, and people are still showing up. So we've got one more plan for next week. You know, if you are interested in continuing these kinds of conversations, shoot me an email and let me know what sorts of topics you might be interested in, speakers, farmers, or others who you'd love to hear from. Right now, I've got one final polling question, which is how you want to get information about farming markets and distributing Vermont food in this time of COVID. And we have a number of different choices, including continuing conversations like this, podcasts, Facebook, email, website, phone conversations, printed materials, or other. And for other, feel free to type your ideas into the chat. I'm going to give, as people finish up with the polling, I'll give you a minute to finish up, and then I'll share the results. We're taking this information as well as the personal feedback, the emails that we get to try to decide what to continue to cover. We know it's a challenging time, but we also know people are dealing with Zoom fatigue. And so we want to be responsive to help you amazing farmers out there do more of what you're doing. So this is what we learned for, what we heard for today is about 85% of the people, of course, you're the ones who are here today, would like to continue these online conversations. 19% like podcasts. We've got a similar amount for Facebook. About 74% like email. So that's good to hear, because I do worry about clogging people's emails up, clogging up your inbox. We've got 56% with websites, small percent, 4% wanting phone conversations, 19% wanting printed materials. And that about sums it up for what we've been discussing today. I'll close just by saying that thank you all for taking time out of your busy day. Especially thank you to the presenters for sharing with us the amazing work that you're doing. And I'll follow up with an email. We're gonna stop the recording now. Cheryl, if you wouldn't mind doing that.